I am Andrew Ryan. Welcome to Ryan Amusements. Please enjoy the park.
Andrew Ryan wakes one night while cruising the Atlantic in his steamliner, the Olympian. His sleep interrupted with a singular purpose. Here, he shouts to his crewmen as he wipes sleep from his eyes. Full stop. We begin building here. Refitted for heavy construction, the Olympian returns with a new cargo. A state-of-the-art submersible platform, nicknamed the Sinker, ferries supplies and workers to the sea floor, fathoms below. After initial supplies have been brought to the seafloor, the platform is permanently moored in the sediment. Massive iron girders are sunk hundreds of feet into the rock and silt. Below the platform, engineers work to overcome obstacles such as diamond-hard rock, obstinate sea life, and unexpected help. After the platform is secured, work progresses at an astounding rate. Designed to be the foundation of Rapture, workers toil around the clock to create the metropolis you see today.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Game Break, the full coverage writer's presentation where we take a few moments to look at the plot and story behind some of our favorite video games. Will here, returning once again to Rapture as we resume our story and trek through BioShock2. When we last left off, we learned from Dr. Tannenbaum that our good buddy Subject Delta here has a pathological link to Eleanor. He must save her, he must find her, and if she gets too far away from him, he goes into a kind of coma. We still don't know what's woken him up, but now he must get to, I believe it was Fontaine's place? I forget the exact name of the place, in order to find Eleanor. With the aid of our new friend Sinclair, we've come to Ryan Amusements to continue our journey. But first we must, of course, find a new plasmid, the Incinerate plasmid, because plot device. Let's continue and see where we go, shall we?
Until you arrive, Father, I'm trapped here. Smuggling these gifts out is the most I can do to help.
So, wherever Eleanor is, and it's Fontaine Futuristics I remember now, she can still telepathically communicate to us, and of course, get plasmids and tonics out to us to help us with the help of the Little Sisters. But she can't leave there without our help.
In ethical psychiatry, we must account for...
Eleanor Lamb speaking. Mum says I'm not to play with the other children because they're being raised on a diet of dog-eat-dog. I wanted to see these dog-eaters, so I waited until Mum was gone and went out to find one. And guess what? The dog-eaters wear human skins. It makes them look just like us.
It's kinda cute that she took that metaphor literally, but also kind of disturbing that she was so isolated by Sophia. We already know that Sophia Lamb was raising her to be some kind of grand leader of the new perfect world she wishes to create here in Rapture. Hey look, more of Sophia Lamb's book. But it's also a little sad that the poor young girl was isolated. But I do wonder, are the other children the other little sisters, or just other little children in general that she was being kept away from? Either way, it's somewhat sad.
Now that Big Daddy won't bite until you do. But to get to Lil Sis, you gotta put the old boy down for good.
So that's a little bit different from the first BioShock, wherein in the first one, if a little sister saw you, she sent Big Daddy on you right away. But if a Big Daddy was walking around without a little sister, you were perfectly safe as long as you didn't damage the Big Daddy. In this case, Big Daddies won't hurt you at all, and it makes sense because to a little sister you're just another Big Daddy. You're not a threat. Until you attack first. And boy, do the Big Daddies not like it when you attack first. And they hurt just as much as they did before.
Take a breath, son. You did it. Now, just let her ride on your shoulders and she'll trust you like her own daddy.
Daddy, are you taking me home too?
So now this is where things get a little different. You can't just harvest or save the little sisters. No, you need to adopt them.
We're in business. Now, there are corpses all over Rapture, and little Dimples there can sniff out the atom on them. Find one.
So if we want the atom this time, we have to go through Rapture with the little sister and find it.
No time to play, Mr. B. More Adam for Big Sister.
I found one of those children at last. Filthy dress, all alone. I approached her, praying that it was my little girl. But she was gorging herself on blood from a corpse. It wasn't her. I stared, just reeling. And then that skinny, armored freak that took Cindy jumped me, shrieking like an animal. I escaped, but could Cindy have become one of those things?
Ryan,
I've got to find her, now more than ever.
sufficient power to any individual is to create a tyrant. We must therefore eradicate tyranny at the genetic level to end sin itself. That is the family. That is our cause.
So a few things were a little bit back to back there. First of all, we got another message from Meltzer. May he achieve victory in his quest to find his own little Cindy. Seems he finally found a little sister himself and was understandably horrified with what he found. But we also learned that it was the Big Sisters that went to the surface and kidnapped the little girls in the first place. Speaking of Big Sisters, I don't know if you caught it, but our little sister said that she was collecting Adam for the Big Sisters. Which kind of is frightening, but makes sense. And of course, the little message from Sophia Lamb states that she's trying to overthrow tyranny on the genetic level. It seems her paradise may involve altering people with the use of Adam, which explains why she needs little sisters, in order to get rid of whatever genes she believes are responsible for causing tyrants. Because apparently one person in charge leads to tyranny every time.
She's got a juicy one, but when she starts draining out the atom, the splicers will come running. Be ready before you set her down on that body.
Something I think we already knew from the first BioShock, but yeah, when a little sister starts harvesting Adam from a dead body, or an angel, splicers come running from everywhere because they crave that Adam. And that is pretty much why the Big Daddies exist in the first place, to protect the little sisters that are harvesting from splicers. And since right now we're the Big Daddy, it's our job to do the protecting.
This one has Adam.
That is a child of the family, not a toy for you to exploit and discard. It is fitting that you expire here, One more forgotten curio in Ryan's shrine to the self.
Here they come. Keep the splicers off her now till she's finished, or they'll never give up the hunt.
So of course, Sophia Lamb knows exactly what we're doing. Surprise, surprise. I find her concept of the family to be interesting though. You already know, according to that message, she's opposed to one person being in charge and opposed to tyranny. So she wants to create a kind of family, as she calls it. Unifies everyone. In some ways, I wonder if it's really all that different from Andrew Ryan's idea of the Great Chain, where everyone was a link in the chain. But I'm sure to Sophia Lamb, it's very different.
Come on now. I'm always safe with Daddy.
Now you know the stakes, son. But a plasmid costs a bit more atom yet. Keep it up.
And of course, the gameplay prompts to keep us playing continue. Takes more than one dead corpse to get enough atom for a plasmid.
Why, hello there. My name is Andrew Ryan. I built the city of Rapture for children just like you, because the world above had become unfit for us. But here, beneath the ocean, it is natural to wonder if the danger has passed. If those we left behind will ever come to their senses. So, let us imagine, you and I, what might befall us on the surface.
So, like the creator of this park said, Andrew Ryan, golf club. Andrew Ryan took his opportunity with this place to turn it into a kind of brainwashing camp for the children of Rapture, to show them exactly what it's like to live on the surface, and why living in Rapture is so much better. In time, we will get to see exactly what he was telling the children of Rapture about the surface.
I think all of the children have finally fallen asleep. And now that the park is all quiet, I can't sleep myself. I guess it's just you and me, Mr. Voice Recorder. You, me, in 1959. I wonder what the new year will... What was that? Something's happened. The lights are going out. Kids, stay in your sleeping bags. It's gonna be fine.
That's something I hadn't thought about at all before this point, especially in BioShock 1. Rapture was a thriving city with families and children, and in 1959 on New Year's Eve, the big rebellion hit down, the big war between Andrew Ryan and Frank Fontaine that led to all this mess. And there were children there that were forced to be a part of it all. Children that were apparently camping out here at Ryan Amusements, just trying to have a good time, and separated from their families when everything went down. I can only imagine how frightening it must have been at the time.
On the surface, the farmer tills the soil, trading the strength of his arm for a home and lands of his own. But the parasites say no. What was yours is ours. We are the state. We are God. We demand our share.
This is what Andrew Ryan was teaching the children of Rapture. In an amusement park, no less. You can definitely see why the owner of this place was a little miffed about Ryan's changes. Here I'm pretty sure he's just talking about taxes, saying that on the surface you work for your pay, or work for your home in the case of the farmer. You work to make your food and keep your home, and then the government comes in and says, no, you owe us taxes, you have to sell a certain amount of your harvest to people and the government and whatnot. And generally over-exaggerating the truth, but definitely portrayed in a nice, frightening, scary way with giant arms to make sure the children never want to go to the surface.
I've been rationing my supplies ever since the park got cut off from the rest of Rapture. Gotta stay strong. I'm holed up in this workshop, surrounded by those wailing brats, trying to beat their way in. They want my food, my guns. They want it all. But I got a plan. Gonna fix up the transport sub that's been rusting in the maintenance bay. Then I'm gonna get the hell out of this hole. These animals want Rapture? They can have it.
Right here.
I do not hate you, Delta. Indeed, I care for you in equal measure to any other sentient creature. But I cannot sacrifice 1,000 of my children for one rebellious son.
Sophia Lamb is definitely an interesting one. I'm still not sure exactly how her head works. She says she cares, but we're in her way. Our presence defies her plans, so obviously we must die. I don't know, it's just very interesting. I'm not the psychological type, so there's probably a few things behind her I'm missing, but hopefully the blanks will be filled in later. And as for Fiddleston's little recording there, it's wonderful how when chaos erupts, everyone goes right to a fend for yourself mentality. Sure, there are innocent children begging for help with food and protection, but no, we're going to hide ourselves with our guns and our food and try to escape by our lonesome. So much for caring about the children, but I guess I can understand when that panic sets in.
All done, Daddy. I'm telling the other girls that I have the best daddy.
Yes, you do. Still a little creepy.
All right, Chief, we've almost got enough Adam now. To get the rest, you'll have to take care of that little sister. There should be one of the air vents they favor in the workshop. Bring her down there.
A Big Daddy's job is never done. So we got a little bit of Adam, but if we want it all, we have to bring the little sister to one of the air vents. We can't just collect it from her now. I'm not exactly sure the mentality behind that, but it is what it is. It's probably just more plot-derived points to keep us going in the right direction. Keep us moving forward. Interesting kind of story-ish stuff that you need to think about when making video games. How to keep the player moving forward. How to keep them motivated. In this game, it's Adam.
Lamb is becoming a problem. The woman is a damned collectivist. Here in Rapture, how could the council fail to see it? Worse, to hide her intent, she gulls these patients of hers into a religious frenzy. A new Kremlin will rise and swallow the council house before they realize they've been had. I won't have my city swindled by the parasite. Whatever its guise. It is time, I think, to call Sinclair.
So yeah, it's clear that it didn't take long for Andrew Ryan to regret bringing in Sophia Lamb. She took her position as the city psychiatrist to essentially convince people that her way is right and Andrew Ryan's way was wrong, thus creating a nice little rebellion under her control. And when that happened, Ryan decided to turn to, I'm assuming, our new friend Sinclair to somehow solve the problem. Which sounds interesting, but really the concern there is, if Ryan liked to turn to Sinclair to solve his problems, do we really want to get his help now? I suppose we'll just have to wait and cross our fingers and hope for the best.
The ego, Eleanor. Under Ryan, the voices of an entire city sing the virtues of greed and pride. But truth, rather, is in the body. Already they grow weary of struggling against one another in fruitless competition. Observe the bent backs, the drawn faces. Ryan promised us more, they seem to say. In what shall we now believe? And Eleanor, it is our task to answer.
This one I understand, but this one isn't as complicated. Basically, when Rapture was in its heyday, people would say, yes, this is a great city, because they wanted to believe it was a great city and justify themselves moving out here. But when you looked at the people and saw how tired they were, how exhausted they were, at least as far as Sophia Lamb saw it, you saw the truth. And for Sophia Lamb, the way she saw it was that even though everyone supposedly worked for themselves and worked to get to keep what they worked for... Oop, I think there's a bit more here.
The parasite makes nothing for itself. Its only tools are taxes and tithes meant to trick you into offering what it has not earned. In Rapture, we keep what is ours.
That kind of ties into what I was saying there. In Rapture, the idea was, the promise was, that you got to keep whatever you earned. If you worked towards something, you got to keep it. And while it was true, it created a lot of competition, and some people just couldn't keep up. And those people found themselves weary, worn, and being used.
On the surface, the scientist invests the power of his mind in a single miraculous idea and naturally begins to rise above his fellows. But the parasites say no. Discovery must be regulated, it must be controlled, and finally, surrendered.
So this is more of Andrew Ryan's propaganda saying that, oh yeah, on the surface, if you come up with a brilliant new scientific idea that makes you smarter or better than your peers, the government is going to push you down and use regulations to hold you at bay and hold your work and your progress back. Of course, we already know from example that without those regulations, you get situations like plasmids for everyone, and oh hey, they're highly addictive and turned you into splicer mutants that want to kill people. But hey, at least you were free to invent.
An artist strives to frame his ideals in an image, to challenge his audience and make his vision immortal. But the parasites say, no, your art must serve the cause. Your ideals endanger the people.
This is more of a ploy on censorship, or on government regulation of art. Basically saying if you're an artist on the surface, if your idea doesn't promote a good image of your country, the country and the government will stop you and force you to create works of art that glorify the country and hold back free thinking and free speech. Which in some places is true, but not as severe as Andrew Ryan tries to make it here. Depending on what country you live in. In some places it is exactly that bad, but we're not going to get into that kind of discussion here. We're only going to discuss the ongoing events in Rapture. I was saying before, and I think it's pretty important to kind of talk about. It definitely seems that Sophia Lamb saw a chance for some kind of paradise here. I suppose on the surface, she saw what Andrew Ryan was doing and believed it could be good, but his ideal of the great chain and you keep what you create and work to keep what is yours and all that just didn't play out because it created too much competition. Somehow she wants to weed out that competition, which is an inherent human trait. Humans naturally compete against each other and have for centuries. It just is how it is. She wants to weed it out on the genetic level, it seems, so that she can create some kind of paradise here. Honestly, it looks like she has a lot of cleanup to do. I don't know exactly what she's planning and what her vision of a paradise is, but if she can take out that competition and remove the threat of a tyrant and create this family she speaks of, perhaps she can achieve it? Or is it all just more brainwashing on a genetic level? I suppose we'll have to wait to find out.
Lacking its own ingenuity, the parasite fears the visionary. What it cannot plagiarize, it seeks to censor. What it cannot regulate, it seeks to ban. Rapture was founded on an idea, and here they are held inviolate.
More propaganda from Andrew Ryan. Well, he's not lying as far as Rapture goes, but he's basically saying that the government will take whatever it can from you because the politicians and government officials can't create for themselves, so they take other people's creations. And if they can't take those creations, they get rid of those creations through regulations and censorship.
On the surface, your parents sought a private life, using their great talents to provide for you. They learned to twist the lies of church and government, believing themselves masters of the system. But the parasite said, no. The child has a duty. He will go to war and die for the nation.
He certainly saved a scary one for towards the end, one specifically targeted for the children on this ride. Yes, live on the surface with your family. Be promised peace and happiness until war breaks out. And then you get brought into the war, drafted to go and to die. At least that's what Andrew Ryan says. It's not entirely wrong, but usually there isn't a draft, at least not in the United States. Some other countries do have drafts, but you don't have to worry about war in Rapture. At least Andrew Ryan said you didn't, until war came to Rapture. Oh well.
I met with Sinclair today of Sinclair Solutions. It's this pseudo-legal firm he set up to take problems Ryan doesn't want to admit he has, and make them go away. I could fill 40 front pages of the Tribune with stories about this fella, if he wasn't paying me not to. And he's got work for me, right? I ask what, and he flashes me these $1,000 Steinman teeth saying this job will, quote, change history.
See, it's stuff like this that makes me not so sure I want to trust our new friend Sinclair. He's definitely a businessman and an opportunity seeker, and I assume that has something to do with Andrew Ryan hiring him to take care of Dr. Sophia Lamb. But clearly Sinclair had his fingers in many things and knew how to turn situations to his advantage. We just have to make sure he won't double-cross us at some point.
Toys have toys.
Well, that's about all the time we have for today. I want to thank you all for joining me on this adventure. As always, feel free to continue the conversation below in the comments. Just try to keep it spoiler-free. If you enjoyed the video, give that like button a push. And feel free to subscribe to our channel for more great videos from us at Full Coverage Writers. And until next time, get out there, be creative, and be awesome.
Work progresses at an astounding rate. Designed to be the foundation of Rapture, workers toil around the clock to create the metropolis you see today.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Game Break, the Full Coverage Writers presentation where we take a few moments to look at the plot and story behind some of our favorite video games. Will here, returning once again to Rapture as we resume our story and trek through BioShock2. When we last left off, we learned from Dr. Tannenbaum that our good buddy Subject Delta here has a pathological link to Eleanor. He must save her, he must find her, and if she gets too far away from him, he goes into a kind of coma.
I am Andrew Ryan. Welcome to Ryan Amusements. Please, enjoy the park.
Andrew Ryan wakes one night while cruising the Atlantic in his steamliner, the Olympian. His sleep interrupted with a singular purpose. Here, he shouts to his crewmen as he wipes...
We still don't know what's woken him up, but now he must get to, I believe it was Fontaine's place? I forget the exact name of the place. In order to find Eleanor. With the aid of our new friend Sinclair, we've come to Ryan Amusements to continue our journey. But first we must, of course, find a new plasmid, the Incinerate plasmid, because plot device. Let's continue and see where we go, shall we?
Until you arrive, Father, I'm trapped here. Smuggling these gifts out is the most I can do to help.
So, wherever Eleanor is, and it's Fontaine Future...
sleep from his eyes. Full stop. We begin building here. Refitted for heavy construction, the Olympian returns with a new cargo. A state-of-the-art submersible platform, nicknamed the Sinker, ferries supplies and workers to the sea floor, fathoms below. After initial supplies have been brought to the seafloor, the platform is permanently moored in the sediment. Massive iron girders are sunk hundreds of feet into the rock and silt. Below the platform, engineers work to overcome obstacles such as diamond-hard rock, obstinate sea life, and unexpected help. After the platform is secured,
Characteristics I remember now. She can still telepathically communicate to us, and of course, get plasmids and tonics out to us to help us with the help of the Little Sisters. But she can't leave there without our help.
In ethical psychiatry, we must account for...
Eleanor Lamb speaking. Mum says I'm not to play with the other children because they're being raised on a diet of dog-eat-dog. I wanted to see these dog-eaters, so I waited until Mum was gone and went out to find one. And guess what? The dog-eaters wear human skins. It makes them look just like us.
It's kinda cute that she took that metaphor literally.